Okay, welcome back to the Are You Strong show. I have an awesome guest on the show tonight. This young woman has her own podcast, and how I met her was through one of her guests, Ryan Cassidy, who was actually a guest on my show. But before I introduce this young lady, first I want to give her some accolades here, which is really cool. Played field hockey at Rutgers up here in New Jersey. And one thing I want to point out, and I make it a point of my shows for those who really come with this phenomenal accolade here, is her GPA. So many people talk about athletes in college, they don't really get great grades, or oh, they're so-so, whatever. This young lady had a 3.9 GPA while in college and playing a sport. She has her own podcast now, which is really cool. And that's how I came across her interviewing Ryan Cassidy. And her podcast is called Real Life Plays. And some of the topics she talks about is academics, like we just mentioned, and athletes, finances. She talks about family and athletes, their social life, nutrition, playing professionally, and really when the game's over, what's the next step? And what's really cool, she just ran the Philadelphia Marathon about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks. And that's really incredible in itself. So, welcome to the show, Devon Horan.
Oh, Jeff, thank you so much. I honestly am thrilled to be here. This is the very first time that I am being interviewed for a podcast.
That's
So
great.
I am excited to be on the other side of it. I know we've been chatting a few times leading up to this, and I think that you are doing amazing, amazing things with this podcast. I mean, getting all these athletes together, it is something that everybody needs. Any athlete out there, any aspiring athlete, any retired athlete, and I'm really excited to be a part of it. So, Jeff, thank you for inviting me on. I know we've got some amazing things to chat about
Oh yeah,
today.
tons of stuff. And what's really cool with you is well, I forget where I saw you interviewing Ryan. Maybe it was a piece on LinkedIn, maybe it was on social media on
Mhm.
Instagram or somewhere. But your energy you bring to the interview, really to everything you're doing is it's incredible.
Thank you, Jeff. I like to think that I am quite a bubbly person, and I
Oh my,
wasn't
yeah.
always that way, but I don't know. I hit the age of 20 years old and something switched in me, and now I like to just be like a ray of sunshine if I
Yeah.
can. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. Tons of energy. So before I got all these questions to ask you, the one question I want to ask you about your podcast
Mhm.
is what motivated you to start that?
Oh man, that's the question. I mean, I started to think about this podcast really when I was a college athlete. And what I wanted to do back then was start a blog because I remembered I was going through all of these things and we talked about the mental aspect of it, and
Yeah.
that's such a huge defining portion of being a student athlete is how do we handle things mentally. But then I was noticing like, "Ooh, my social life has got some fun things going on with it here. This is interesting to navigate." And my finances. I wasn't on scholarship, but I knew girls who were. I didn't get a stipend. How am I going to be, spending money on things when I'm not bringing in money? My
Yeah.
sport is my full-time job. I was thinking of the academic side of it. I was thinking of I had my 8th grade sweetheart who I'm now married to, this was our first time being apart navigating a relationship in that capacity, and there's so many things that go on with it. And so
Yeah.
way back when I was thinking, I'm going to start a blog. And I never did. I just kind of shied away from it thinking, people probably won't care. And here I am at the age of 24 and I realized that wow, it's time to talk about it because I'm still
Yeah.
thinking about this 4 years
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
And so I was really motivated to just step into a space that I feel passionate about, step into a space that I think is applicable to other people. My cousin was going through the whole recruiting process and
Hmm.
was talking to me all the time about it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
these young athletes, people who are retiring, nobody is talking about this stuff. Nobody talks about the outside of performing of your sport. Outside
Yeah.
of mental health is a big aspect now, but
Huge.
what about everything else?
Yeah.
So it really came out of honestly in my heart thinking, even if I have one or two people listening, even if I can help one or two
One
people,
person. That's
I
it.
feel like I'll have made a difference. And that's
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 awesome.
really what drove me to do it.
Well, I think podcasts are just live blogs.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Instead of
Mhm.
typing it out and people to read it, they get to actually hear you live,
Yes. Bring the
which is really
personality
cool.
to it.
That bring the energy, bring the energy. Well,
Yeah.
well, let's go. We're gonna bounce around a little bit. We're gonna go
Mhm.
backwards in time from you're a young girl. We're gonna go midway. We're gonna go to college. We're gonna talk about now and everything.
Can't
But
wait.
the first question I want to ask you, and I ask all the athletes coming on, is what inspired you? When did you realize, hey, I'm going to be an athlete, and I'm gonna attempt and play in college, and not just in any school.
Mhm.
You went to like the top of the top of colleges in athletic, talent.
Oh, yeah. Surely did, surely did, and I feel like my journey to get there also was such a unique one. I have been involved in almost, I feel like, every sport under the sun. From when I was young, my parents had me plugged in. I mean, I'm sure you hear this from a lot of the college
Oh yeah.
athletes that you talk to, but three-season athlete, was always doing something. I played competitive soccer actually when I was, I don't know, 4th grade, 5th grade, and 6th grade was what I would say is my defining moment. And it's funny looking back on this now, I'm thinking like, wow, at 12 years old, I was making some big decisions.
Yeah.
But, my mom was a college athlete. She played field hockey at Fairleigh Dickinson
Oh,
in
cool.
New Jersey. So,
All right.
both of my older sisters played field hockey, and I was in that headspace of, "Okay, I'm playing travel soccer. I love the girls on my team. We had a great performing team. We were winning championships. It was going really well." But there was something inside of me like, I feel like I've just gotta try field hockey." It was just inside of me. My mom did it. I My mom is my hero. I look up to my mom more than anybody else in this world. And so, yeah, I decided to pull the plug in 6th grade and try field hockey and decided not to play the school soccer team. And that
Mm,
was my first little taste of field hockey. How we
okay.
had the whole thing going on there is we had a varsity team, which is really like the 8th grade team, and
Yeah.
then a JV team and a 6th grade team. And me and a few of the other 6th graders had the opportunity to go up and be on the varsity team. And I was playing with
In
my
sixth
sister, which
grade.
made it, yes, which made it even more fun.
Wow.
So we got to do that. And I don't know what it was, but I felt just this natural pull to it. Something about it. I bet I inherited it from my mom, my 2 older sisters, but I had been around it and I just naturally fell right into it.
Yeah.
The time where I
How
knew.
could you how could you not with the
Right.
three of them they're pulling you into it.
They surely are.
Yeah.
And they were all great themselves. I mean, it was so nice to look up to them and see that. And
Yeah.
then, I play for 6th grade, 7th grade, and we noticed, okay, I have a pretty decent talent at this. So 8th grade was the year that I decided I am going to play a Division 1 field hockey team. And that was my decision in 8th grade. And the funny thing is, I say this now, I think I had bias against the other divisions, and I wish
Yeah.
that I didn't, but in my mind, I was going Division 1, and that was it. There was really
Yeah,
no
can
other
you talk
option.
about that for a second?
Mhm.
You say you had bias to the other division, and I get it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But can you kind of describe what was going on in your mind and why you were thinking that way?
More than happy to. And this is something I really like to chat about and bring light to because when I was at the age of 13, I cared, I feel like, what people thought of me a lot. I mean, really, gosh, I mean, pretty recently, up until maybe a few years ago, I started not to care so much. But when you're that young, you see the big teams and they're
Yeah.
winning championships and they get all the free gear and you see the attention that
Yeah.
people are getting when you see, oh, they committed to this big D1 school. You see their signing day when you're a senior and you see
Yeah.
people like all the pictures. And I'm like, I want that. That's what I
You
want.
start comparing.
And I started comparing Division 3.
Yeah.
They don't get free gear. Why would I want to play for a team that doesn't get free gear? Division 2 and Division 3, I
Yeah.
had these ideas in my mind that they're not nearly as good. They don't have the funding, they don't have this.
Yeah.
And so, really early on, this establishment in my brain was if I don't go Division 1, then I'm not as good. And it started to now define my identity as you're not a good player if you don't go Division 1. And
Mm.
reflecting back on that now, I can honestly say I wish I did not have that sight like that. I wish that I had different viewpoints because that surely is very different. And I know that now because let me tell you, top Division 2 and top Division 3 teams
They're
can
good.
easily beat a
Yeah.
Division 1 team.
And you got a lot of girls or in any sport, guys, girls
Mhm.
in Division 2 and 3 who they're really good. They could go D1. They just don't want to because they
Yeah.
don't want the stress, the pressure, the
Mhm.
the things that come along with it. They just want to go play the sport and have fun.
Right. And I wish for me, looking back now, like I said, being able to have hindsight into things, Division 3 Division 3 really would have been the perfect route for me. And I know that now because field hockey, when you're any sport in Division 1, that is your life.
Good
And
job.
I
Yeah.
knew that field hockey really in high school, I knew that I didn't want it to be my life. So I almost feel like we'll get into my story a little bit later, but my journey was kick-started from the moment I decided I was going to play a Division I sport because I
Yeah.
wanted the attention from it rather than because I wanted to do it. So
It's
that
crazy,
was,
right?
I mean, I'm
Well, your
very
mother
passionate
must have
about
been
that now.
excited, right?
Yes.
She must have been jacked up.
Oh, everybody was excited about it. I mean, I decided in 8th grade, right? So I joined a club field hockey team.
Yeah.
And immediately we're going to all the showcases. Disney was my favorite one, going down to Florida with my
Yeah.
mom. We used to go on that trip. You get to bond with your team. And I get into high school and I make varsity as a freshman. And that was an interesting experience as well because I didn't just make varsity as a freshman, but I was starting as a freshman. So I was navigating learning how to, number one, get into high school, the social aspects of getting into high school. It's different being able to navigate that. And then also, the politics that came along with a
Oof.
freshman starting on the varsity team.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of people didn't like that. I was immature and I didn't know how to handle my feelings. I didn't get along with my coach that year. I could
Mm.
honestly say I was a lot of the problem back then. And, I'm going through that, but I also have this in the back of my mind like, oh, I'm on varsity as a freshman. So that means I'm really good. So that's
Yeah.
another thing that's stacking up for me. Like, I have to go D1. I have to go D1. I have to go D1. And then you start the college recruiting process very heavily sophomore year of high school. And that was all we ever talked about. I started to get emails from D3 coaches, and I hate to say this, I think I literally just put them in the trash. I mean,
Yeah.
I
It was
I don't
beneath
know
you.
what 15-year-old Devon
Yeah.
was doing. I
Yeah.
don't know.
But can I ask you a question? This might be putting you on the spot.
Oh, put me on the spot, Jeff. I don't
You know,
mind.
it- were you maybe thinking that, hey, I don't want to let my mother down?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
this brings me into I was on the emotional roller coaster in
Mm.
high school to such a large capacity because field hockey ended up becoming my life, right? So I was saying that I was a 3-season athlete that quickly turned into I was a field hockey athlete.
Yeah.
And I used to play basketball. Listen, I'm a 5'3" girl. That was not taking me anywhere. So I
Right.
stopped basketball. And I used to play softball, stop that. So I did track my freshman and sophomore year, but I was not a track athlete. And then I
Yeah.
did golf my junior and senior year, which I will say is like
Okay.
my favorite thing that I ever have done. That was a
Cool.
great experience. But really, everything was field hockey. Wasn't
Okay.
trying to be competitive in any other sport. So you're starting to feel the burnt out effects of I'm
Mm.
playing club field hockey. I'm playing high school field hockey. My whole life is surrounded by field hockey. I'm doing the recruiting process, all of my emails, everything. But I see how happy everybody is for me. And I see how proud they are of me.
Mm.
Very much so used to be somebody who I just wanted everybody to like me and I wanted everybody to be proud of me. I never wanted to let anybody down. And I actually started going to therapy for this as a sophomore, junior in high school because I
Wow.
could not navigate the mental aspects of this. I was so close to quitting field hockey my junior year of high school, like this close. So, I mean, I've been going to the same therapist now for 10 years. And she was when I started going, was because really of this whole field hockey situation. But I think what we've discovered is a major part of that was I don't wanna let them down. They've spent so much money on me. They've spent
So
so much
how
time
did
on
you
me.
overcome that? How did you handle that?
Well, I don't know if I really did at the time. I think
Okay.
that as I was going to therapy and navigating all this, okay, let me say put some firm boundaries, right? So for my time, I used to go to like 5 a.m. individual sessions. Hey, I'm not going to go to this session. Like it's taken away from me. Like
Yeah.
let me do every other week instead of every single week. So I started to put boundaries, and I think when I was working through the recruiting process, a lot of the mental struggle came from trying to get recruited, and I wasn't hearing from coaches that I wanted to hear from, and I felt like I wasn't going anywhere. But the moment that switched for me, and why I say that I don't really know if I overcame it, was because I started to hear from coaches. So I started to hear from Lehigh. I was
Okay.
talked to Northeastern. I talked to Sacred
Good schools.
Heart. Talked to Villanova. And then I ended up
What good
talking to
schools?
Rutgers. Right. And so I'm getting this attention from schools all of a sudden, and they're Division One. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, like I can go tell people, yeah, I'm talking to these schools. And people are like, oh my
Yeah.
God, that's so cool. So now instead of me being so drained out and burnt out from feeling like I'm not doing good enough, all of a sudden I'm feeling like I'm doing good enough. And I'm making people proud and I'm making
Mm,
people happy. And it started that cycle. So then I end up committing. Everybody's happy for me. Everybody's
right.
excited for me. You know, I can
Mm.
talk to people about it, say, yeah, like I committed to Rutgers. It's a Big Ten Division One field hockey school. And everybody's like, no way.
How did you make that
Yeah.
decision?
That decision. Ooh, my recruiting process was really interesting. So I'll take us
Okay.
to it's kind of a long process. So let me take us down to the two final schools that I had, which was Villanova
Okay.
and Rutgers.
Okay.
So when I was visiting Villanova and Rutgers, how this came about was I don't remember exactly how I started talking to Villanova, but I got invited to an overnight visit with them. And I went and I visited the campus. I liked it. I knew I wanted to probably go to a little bit bigger of a school. I knew it was amazing academics. I liked it, but my experience with the girls that I stayed with was not great. And I
Okay.
remember being there thinking, I really don't feel welcome here. I remember feeling uncomfortable, and it takes a lot to make me uncomfortable in
What
a
gave you
social
that feeling? What was
situation.
going on that gave you that feeling?
You know, the first thing was that nothing was really planned. So I know that when you go, a lot of times they want to immerse you in what it's
Yeah.
going to be like to
They
be an
bring you all
athlete,
over the
right?
place.
But one of the first things that the girl who had me said was, "Oh, you're like my fifth girl that I've had this season." And I
Mm,
remember being like, "Oh, okay." And she's like, "Yeah, like they just keep giving me people." And I was like, "Oh, that's crazy." Then, we're getting ready to go. She had a soccer roommate or some other sport. And she's like, "Just so you know, we don't really get along." I'm like, "That's a beautiful thing for me to hear before I'm
yeah,
going to
that's
be
great, right?
sleeping in your room with you."
Oh my
And then
God.
they didn't have anything really planned. I think we went to like a rec basketball game, but we stood in study hall for a while and we just kind of sat there, and it just it didn't feel right.
You didn't feel
Whereas
welcome.
exactly.
Yeah.
I got an incredible, incredible offer from Villanova. I mean, I was going to be paying almost no money to be going there.
And that's a
And
great school.
I wish that like when you're 18 years old or 17 years old, you have a better idea of what that means, because I don't
Yeah.
really think that you
Oh
do.
yeah. I know. Been there, done that. I know.
Oh, yeah. And then whereas with Rutgers, I stepped on campus, loved the coaches, loved the players, loved the facilities. I was like, man, I feel like I fit in here. It
Yeah.
was just a different feel. They were incredible. And how I actually ended up talking to Rutgers is one of my club field hockey team members, she had committed to Rutgers. And so she and her dad, who I had a great relationship with, put me in contact with the coach, and I kind of got the plug through them.
Okay.
And I had a funny experience, actually. I always share this recruiting story. When I went for my unofficial visit, we did not know that it was a dead period, which is when you cannot do anything recruiting. Like I could not be on that unofficial visit, and we just didn't realize it. So halfway through my visit, they're like, "We're so sorry, but we have to send you home
Oh my
because it
God.
is a dead period." So then I ended up being brought back again, back to Rutgers.
Okay.
Um, and the funny thing, Jeff, is, and I share this with a lot of people, why I talk about the offers, right? I got this incredible offer from Villanova. My offer to Rutgers, I got offered zero money for the first year to go to
Oh,
Rutgers. Nothing. And they said that I would start getting money my sophomore year of college.
okay.
So, but another thing was we talked about academics before. Academics have always been very important to me. I've always prioritized them. And they said to me, if you get a 37 on your ACT, or a 30, not a 37, a 33 on your ACT, then you will be able, because it's out of 35, you'll get an academic scholarship.
All right.
And I was like, I can do that. I took the ACT 5 times, and on my fifth time, I got a 33 on it.
All
And I
right.
was jumping up with joy. I was like, I'll get money from this. And so, I did commit to Rutgers thinking I'm going to get an academic scholarship. So I was thinking there would be money somewhere in there, more than money, but we're
Yeah.
talking about that aspect right now. I applied to the engineering school as my primary school, and
You couldn't pick an easier one?
I'm gonna redo that because my you had a phone call come in. So I applied to the engineering school as my primary school and the business school as my secondary school.
Okay.
And got into engineering, got into business, but they said to me that the pool of applicants were so competitive that I did not get an academic scholarship for the
Mm,
engineering school, which was obviously devastating to hear. And I ended up
Yeah.
switching out of the engineering school to go to the business school, and I asked them to reconsider, but they wouldn't. So I actually ended up committing to Rutgers, and like I said, going back to the reasonings behind it, I felt like I belonged there, and I didn't get a great offer, but at the time, and it goes back to my mental stuff, like, it felt like the bigger school, it felt like the better school, it felt
Yeah.
like
You
I
just
fit
felt
in
good.
more with that,
Yeah.
and that was the decision that I made, much to not the happiness per se of my parents, absolutely. I mean, they wanted me to do what I wanted to do,
Yep.
but as a parent, I mean, I'm sure you're seeing that your kid is almost getting a full ride to a school at Villanova, and you're probably thinking
You're
in the
going
back
to
of your head,
Villanova.
"God damn."
You're going to Villanova. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. So the recruiting process was such an interesting and unique journey for me because I ended up choosing Rutgers. It was perfect for me, at the time, and I was happy that I made that decision, but I feel like a lot of times kids who are younger go in and make these decisions
Yeah.
kind of uninformed
Yeah.
or not really knowing what you want, like truly knowing what you want.
And when you were playing, which is not that long ago,
No.
but the transfer ability now is much easier than it was
Mhm.
when you were there,
Yes.
right? And these kids
Yes.
today, they walk in, they don't like what's going on, they're out the door.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that we're gonna get into this at some point, but I'll kind of just start introducing it now. I show up to field hockey team, and I graduated high school in 2018. So I show up, and leading into it, the year leading in, I absolutely feel like I did not do the work that needed to be done to be a true great Division One athlete. But I also feel like I didn't know what that meant, right? You're
Yeah.
going in as a freshman. How are
Yeah.
you supposed to know? You do the workout packet, you do all that.
Yep.
Um, but I really think I was more excited to be a Big Ten Division One player than I was to be playing field hockey.
Yeah.
And that sounds crazy, but it was the truth. And so I show up to preseason and I'm just blown away by the abilities of the people that I'm playing with.
Oh
And
my
it's a
God. They're
lot.
like superstars, right?
And we had a lot of international girls.
Okay.
So my roommate was from New Zealand. Such an amazing person. One of my closest friends at the time was from Germany. She's absolutely great. Just hands down an amazing person. Then we had people from the Netherlands, from Ireland, from all over. And so I'm getting to see what field hockey players are like from across the world.
Yeah.
Jeff, that is something that is such a cool
They
experience to be
take
able to
it
have.
super serious in other countries.
I mean, it's almost not even comparable.
Yeah, I know.
It is truly incredible. And so I show up and I'm seeing all this and I'm like, wow, this right here is the real deal. This is the
Yeah.
real deal. And our team, we had a great season. We ended up making the NCAA tournament for the first time since, gosh, it maybe would have been 20 years or something like that. Like it was a
Yeah.
significant amount of time. I will never forget the day that we found out that we got the bid into the NCAA tournament. It was
Guys went
great.
nuts.
Oh my gosh. Like
Yeah.
we had a team dinner where they brought everybody together and we sat there and we're just in the watch party together. So you're sitting there all anxious. And it wasn't a shoe-in for us. We were a bid.
Yep.
So we were sitting there. The moment that our team name hopped up on that board, I mean, we were screaming, jumping up and
Yep.
down. The energy was electric. You've just
Yeah.
never felt something like that in your life before. And I'm
Yep.
so grateful I got to experience that. That is
Yeah.
something that I'll never forget. I'll tell my kids
Well,
about, tell my
it's
grandkids
one of
about,
that's one of the questions I was going to ask you. Like, out of all
Yeah.
your moments, it sounds like you just mentioned it. What was the most memorable moment you had while you were there? Do you think that was it?
The most memorable positive moment, I would say,
Yeah. Okay.
absolutely.
Let's stay on the
Yeah.
positive side first, right? You know?
We'll definitely stay on the positive side. I mean, that has to be it, hands
Yeah.
down,
Right.
because you work this whole season and at Rutgers, right, we had entered the Big Ten. And this was the time around when we were there. And I was talking to Carmen Sclafani. He was a baseball player at Rutgers, and
Yep.
Ryan
Another
Cassidy, we
guest on
talked
my show
about.
too, which
Yeah.
is good. He was on
Yeah, I
yours
mean,
too.
yes, he was.
Yep.
Stand-up guys. I mean, they're
Oh
just
my
so
God,
great.
he's
Ryan
awesome.
Cassidy from football, and
Yep.
we're chatting and we're talking about how this period of time when we were there was, I feel like, the switch for Rutgers sports.
Right.
More of Rutgers sports were really finally getting comfortable with the Big Ten, starting
Yep.
to excel in the Big Ten.
Yep.
I mean, the year after I had stopped playing field hockey, I believe it was the year or maybe the year after, the field hockey team, they won the Big Ten tournament, which is unreal. So we
It's
were
crazy.
we were turning the point there. Like it was going, the train was
Now,
running.
now it's
And
expected,
exactly.
right?
Now it's expected. It was a really fun time to be a part of Rutgers sports, honestly. It
Yeah.
was really cool.
Now, do you know the name Kenny Wright?
I do not know the name Kenny Wright.
She played
Wait, is she a
soccer.
soccer player? Yes,
Soccer.
actually. Yes, I've
Okay.
heard of her before.
You got to get her on, she was on my show a couple weeks ago. Holy smokes. What a story. You got to get her on
Oh.
yours. I'll do an introduction to you
Yeah,
guys.
absolutely. I mean, that would be amazing. I would love to have her on. I'm actually
Phenomenal.
interviewing too another Rutgers soccer player, Meg McClelland.
Okay.
She was a soccer goalie, killed it.
Yep.
She's playing professional soccer right now, and I'm going to be linking up with her in December. So I'll have to send you
Good.
her information as well. But yeah, that would be
Yeah,
great. I
she
mean,
was awesome. She played professionally for 3 years. Now she's the coach at Temple, one of
no
the assistant coaches.
way.
Yeah.
Good for
Yeah.
her.
Yeah. And just
Wow.
what a story. Oh my God. You know, all these Rutgers athletes that I've been interviewing, the stories of what they're overcome is incredible.
Yeah.
And you know what? You know what's great about that, Devin, is these shows that we do, it lets these guys and girls tell this story that nobody knows.
Mm-hmm.
They just see the uniform, they see them on the field, they see them on maybe TV, and they
Yeah.
expect like everything's perfect,
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
right? And to
Exactly.
hear what these young men and women go through, like yourself, and the mountains you climb, and the hills you fall down,
Mm-hmm.
and you get up and you got to do it again tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got to go to class. Oh, then you got to have a life,
Yeah.
and then you have an injury, but then you have the mental stuff. It's like it's just compounding and compounding. And
Mhm,
the traditional student, I have this
mhm.
conversation a lot. The
Yeah.
traditional student says, "Well, look at all the gear you get. Oh, look at all the things you get handed to you. Oh, look at all the special treatment you get. Look at." I'm like,
Mhm.
wait a minute. It's not special, man. It's
No, take
earned.
a few steps back. Like, that is, I mean,
It's earned.
as a college athlete, I personally think it is the best thing that you could do
Yeah,
because you develop as a person in so many ways that I think you could never even imagine.
right.
I mean, there's other competitive things out there, absolutely, yes, but there's just something about playing a college sport that can turn you into such a different person, and the
Mhm.
lessons that you learn, like we said, the trials and tribulations that we're gonna get into for me as well. I mean, I would not be who I am today, I can confidently say that, had I not gone through every single thing that I went through as a college
Right.
athlete, and even the hard things, I thank God for them today. Like, I
Yeah.
couldn't see it then, but I see it now, and
Yep.
thank God I went through what I did because I would not be the Devin that I am today. I would
It
not have the podcast.
and the hard things you went through make things today easier.
Yes. Oh my, not even comparable. I
Right.
mean, oh my, I
Right.
was actually talking to my new boss about this the other day, and
Yeah.
I'll get a little bit into this story now, but we're talking about how we get into the NCAA tournament and everything is amazing. And, we lost in the first round, so that kind of ends our season.
Yep.
And, we relax a little bit, we have some lifts, and we go on winter break. And the tide changed for me, Jeff, once we came back from winter break. I think anything and everything that you think could go wrong went wrong for me
Really.
in so many different aspects. We come back and immediately right off the bat, I'm dealing with an injury, which is a different type of injury.
Mm.
It's not your typical ACL. It's not your typical, you know, broken bone, torn muscle. But I was dealing with something that was called occipital neuralgia, which is the muscles in my shoulders and my
Okay.
neck were so tight that it actually affected the nerves in the occipital lobes in my brain.
Are
And so
you kidding me?
I was so down bad from major, major headaches that it totally incapacitated me. I
Oh
couldn't
my
go out
God.
with friends, which was very rare for me. I'm a very social person. I remember my father, he's a veterinarian, and he used to do acupuncture on me at home to try to make them feel better. Nothing would help. I went to the hospital one day. I was at Rutgers and I was texting my parents. I said, I can't take it. I'm going to the hospital. Like, I have to go. I cannot take it anymore. I went to the hospital and they gave me migraine medication for it.
Yeah.
Nothing helped it.
Nothing.
Nothing helped it. So, my friend actually, who I mentioned before, that her and her father had got me in contact with the Rutgers coach. Her father is a very extremely well known and amazing doctor, and he got me in with a neurologist right away. And so, this was probably about 2 months of dealing with these major headaches, and I couldn't go to practices, I couldn't go to lifts. It was affecting my way, not only,
Yeah.
physically,
Everything.
mentally, but with academics and with my social life and with my sport. I literally couldn't do anything. They got me into seeing the neurologist, and he knew what it was right away. So he's like, "You got occipital neuralgia. We'll give you a nerve block. We're gonna put you on some steroids, and then you're gonna go get PT, and that's what we're gonna do." So we did that. That's what we did, and I started going
How
to
long did it
PT.
take until you got diagnosed with that?
About 2 months. I mean, it was brutal. It
I
was
bet.
brutal. It
I
was,
bet.
and thankfully they did an MRI just to make sure everything was good. I had convinced myself I had a brain tumor. I was horrified of, having
Yeah.
something like that. Thankfully, God willing, I didn't. So I got the MRI. I couldn't practice until the MRI was done, until the results were in. And with having all of these issues, it started to build a little bit of tension, I would say, with my involvement a little bit with the team, my involvement a little bit with the coaches. It was just a very confusing, I think, like frustrating time for a lot of people in the situation.
Do you think is the coaches were thinking, well, she has nothing broken, nothing's torn, nothing's is she really hurt?
Yeah, and this is something that I've wrestled with in my mind a lot because at first my coaches were so understanding and just reacted so well to it. And
Right.
they were like, take the time you need. So, like, really so understanding.
Yeah.
But I think as the time went on, where I felt that tension start to rise up a little bit was when we were waiting for the MRI. My trainer was like, you are not doing anything until we get the results of the MRI. Nothing. And I do remember having a conversation with my coach where they're like, well, why can't you just practice? Like, you got the MRI, like, we're just waiting on the results. Why can't you
Yeah.
practice? That was the trainer's call. So I felt that was the first time I felt a little bit of tension where the coaches were like, I don't know. And then on top of that, maybe like a week or two after all this brain stuff is going on, we finally figure it out. I broke my finger in practice.
Ugh.
So we were playing indoor field hockey, which is different from outdoor field hockey. A lot of it, you got to get low to the ground. You got to get your hands on the ground.
Yeah.
And I got hit really hard with the ball. And I remember going to my coach and being like, I broke my finger. Like, I know it. And they're like, you didn't break your finger, but you can go see the trainer after. I'm like, I think that I broke my finger.
Yeah.
So the trainer's like, I don't think that you broke your finger, but we can go get you an x-ray. We took an x-ray. Well, it was a broken finger. I was like, I just knew it inside of me.
Yeah.
And then, but they didn't want me to not practice. So they wrapped it up and I was playing with a broken finger, which again, I think I was more struggling with the mental aspect of it
Yeah.
that like I felt like I had to. I think a lot of it was
Yeah.
like I felt like I had to
Well,
because if I didn't have to,
here's a small challenge, right? Here's a small
mhm,
challenge there. If we go backwards in our conversation, like you said before, you be D3 was like your probably your spot. If
yeah,
you were at D3, they probably would say, okay, okay, go take care of that and come back when you're done.
yeah,
D1,
you're in it.
it's like if you can't walk, okay,
Yeah,
but if you can walk, you're playing.
tough luck.
Yeah.
That's basically it. Like you
Oh
got to
yeah.
have that hard mindset.
Oh yeah.
Um, so I had that on top of that. It brought in some tension. I feel like mentally I was struggling a little bit, feeling a bit of a disconnect between my coaches.
Yeah.
So we kick off with the injuries, right? Um, then we had this big indoor tournament that we go to. We had that indoor tournament, and then after that, they have one-on-ones with you. Let me tell you, Jeff, I will never be able to like not be absolutely solid in a one-on-one anymore after I went through these ones because
Okay.
it took a lot. So we have these one-on-ones, and as we were chatting, this was the first time that I noticed I was in some sort of jeopardy with my position on the team. And so I'm
Mm,
sitting down. This was a tough conversation. This was a tough conversation for me. And I won't say things word for word because I'm not one
yeah.
person to be like, oh, they said this and this and this
Yeah.
if I can't remember it exactly. But
Yeah.
but what I do remember is sitting in that room and I didn't think it would go poorly. In fact, I thought it was gonna go well.
And was it just you and the head coach or you and all the
Me
coaches?
and 4 coaches.
So 4-on-1.
4, yeah, it wasn't even a one-on-one, it was a 4-on-1.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're
That's
sitting there.
intimidating in itself.
Something else. Let me tell you,
Oh yeah.
at 18, 19 years old,
Oh yeah.
it's not something that you have the
No.
skill necessarily to handle well yet.
And in
So I'm s
today's corporate world,
Mhm.
you can't do that.
No,
No.
corporate would never.
No.
Oh, they would never, but I would be ready for it if I had
Yeah.
to.
Oh, now you go in there
Now
and
I
kill it.
can.
Oh yeah.
But, I walk into this room and, I'm happy-go-lucky Dev walking in, getting
Yeah.
ready for this. I walked out of that room bawling my eyes out
Oh my
because
God.
I was told I was the worst in the weight room. I was the worst on the field. I was the worst performing on the team. And when I tell you they told me I was the worst, like actually they used the words the worst. And
Are you
so,
kidding me?
oh, I'm not kidding. It was brutal. And I was told, if you don't get better, you're going to get cut from the team. So at that moment, walking out of there, crying my eyes out. I just didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
I knew, and I'll be the first to say, I knew I was one of the worst players on the team. I knew that. It was no secret, but I still worked hard. I still tried, but
Yeah.
I knew that it's not a secret. So I feel like yes, I felt like we could have had that conversation. If they want to have that conversation, amazing. But let's maybe frame it in a little bit of a different
With a
way.
better
Let's
way to
let's
deliver it.
let's communicate a little
Yeah.
differently so that it comes
Right.
off more constructive than telling a little 18-year-old like you are the worst
Like you
because I'd
stink.
never heard that. I had
Yeah.
never heard that in my life. You grow up.
Mm.
I think a lot of athletes who are listening to this podcast can probably relate.
Yeah.
When you are a high performing athlete and you're committed to a Division One school, what have you been told your entire life?
You're great.
You're so good.
Yeah.
You are the best. You're so good.
Yeah.
Like you're killing it. This is the first time across any aspect of life that I'm hearing like you're not good at something.
So how did that change you?
It it was brutal. And I say that and I want to be like super honest with everybody listening because if somebody's going through this, you're not alone. Like I
Yeah.
feel like I didn't know other people went through this. That was my biggest thing is that I didn't think anybody ever got cut from their teams. I didn't think anybody ever had a conversation with their coach that people got cut from their teams. And so I'm going through this. I feel awkward around my coaches. I feel awkward around my coaches. I feel awkward around my teammates because now I just have it always in the back of my mind like, I'm the worst on the team. Oh my God, I'm going to get cut.
Yeah.
Start showing up to practices. Oh my God, if I make a mistake, I'm going to get cut.
So
So this is,
anxiety is kicking in heavy.
we talk, Sunday scaries is a big thing nowadays, but I literally didn't sleep on Sunday nights getting
Mm.
ready for practices, or if it was a Monday, if we had practice on Tuesday. The anxiety that I had was overwhelming and overtaking. I
Yeah.
didn't know how to handle it. It was debilitating, really. The anxiety that I had was absolutely debilitating.
Mm.
And, I show up to practices, but I feel like I can't ask as many things as maybe I would normally ask. I feel like I just have to continue to try to prove myself over and over again. And I feel like deep down I knew that I was likely going to get cut. Um, I felt in a way, and I still do feel to this time, I remember talking to my parents and some other people about this experience as I'm going through it. I almost believe that I was treated a certain way so that I would quit instead of having to get cut.
Mm.
And I am
You
the
think
type of
they're trying to force
person.
you out?
Yes. I am not a quitter.
Yeah.
And that's always been my personality. So I knew, like I told myself, if I'm not going to be on this team, it's going to be because they cut me. It is not because like I'm going to quit. And I will also tell you, Jeff, I knew I wasn't going to be playing field hockey for 4 years. And that was a decision I had made probably like before that conversation had happened. Internally, I was like, this really isn't for me. The
Right.
Division One, like I enjoyed being a part of a team. I enjoyed the schedule. I didn't mind the busyness of it. I didn't mind the
Yeah.
hard work we had. I loved going to weight room. I just didn't like field hockey. And I realized that as I was playing more and more of it. So then my mind was like, oh, you don't want to play for 4 years, but I'm not a quitter. So now I feel like I have to stay because I have to prove to myself mentally that I'm not going to quit.
Yeah.
It was a vicious cycle and it
Yeah.
was really difficult to deal with. And I'm happy now that they have more sports psychologists
Yeah.
around because I think a lot of athletes can go to them and talk to them about
Yeah.
it. And I encourage athletes to go
So,
and talk
so
about
who
it.
who was your go-to person when you were going through this craziness? Who was
Yeah.
your go-to person who would just listen?
That would have to be my mom and my now husband, who was my boyfriend at the time.
Okay.
But I also feel like it was hard because when you're in that position, I feel like it would be really beneficial to talk to somebody who has been in your shoes or knows
Or
what you're
who
going
wasn't really
through.
biased in your
Yes.
side, right?
Right, exactly. So, they were everything that I needed and more, honestly, in that
Right.
moment to get me through it. They were
Yeah.
everything that I needed. Um, but I don't feel like I can talk to the girls on my team about it, because how do I talk to them about, "Hey, I might get cut from the team," or like, "I got these" some of them knew that conversation happened.
Yeah.
Um, there was actually an older girl on my team, and she was incredible. She had battled so many knee injuries in her life. I feel like she faced a lot of adversity,
Yeah.
and she's one of the people that I think was like instrumental in me getting through what I got through. And so I did go to her as well. So I think it was nice to
Good.
have her, but
Yeah.
again, she was one of the best players in New Jersey, like ever. So she was one of the best players in Division 1 field hockey. So it's it's a different type of viewpoint because I'm just not as good as everybody else on this, you know, 11th ranked team in Division
Yeah.
1. I'm just
So,
not, which is
so
okay too.
well, let me ask you that question because what you just said before about coming out of high school, you're the best.
Yeah.
Now you show up and you have these tremendous young women who are just
Mhm.
phenomenal, not just from this country, but from around the world. You're
Literally across
playing
the
with
world from New Zealand.
right,
Yeah.
right, right. So now your mind's saying, hey, you know what? I'm no longer the best.
Mhm.
I have to adapt to this. I don't really want to play anymore, but I'm not
Mhm.
going to quit. I don't
Yeah.
want to let my mother down. I got my
Mhm.
boyfriend who I don't want to let him like I can't imagine the stress that was going on in your
Mhm.
mind. In how did you handle that?
I am one who keeps busy.
All
And so
right.
when I don't want to feel certain things, I just try to keep busy. And the
Mm,
more that I keep busy, the more that I keep my mind off of things. But then when you do that and you go to bed that night before practice,
your mind runs.
everything comes rushing to you.
Yep.
And so I would never stand here and say that I handled it in the best of ways. Because I don't think any 19-year-old would know how
No,
to handle that situation
no.
in the best of ways. I feel like maybe I could have used more of the sports psychologists who were available at Rutgers at the time. I think that probably would have been beneficial to me. But I also think I was wrestling that in my mind. I didn't really want to do the extra work to be
Yeah.
that much better. I was going to show up to practice and I was going to give it my all,
Yeah.
but I wasn't going to be the one to show up to practice like 2 hours early to go get extra touches on the field.
Yeah.
And I just didn't love field hockey that much. And I feel like for a long time, I convinced myself that I wasn't the type of person who would want to do that. But
Hmm.
that's not true because where I am now and doing things that I love, I will go the extra mile. I will
You
go
just
one
ran a
more.
marathon.
You got to find what your thing
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
And field
Yeah.
hockey wasn't it.
Yeah.
So
Marathon. Maybe you'd be a professional marathon runner.
there we go. Who
Right.
knows? Like, catch me in 5 years, everybody.
Yeah.
You don't know where I'll be. But,
Right.
you know, I'm going through all this and I'll walk you guys through literally the most pivotal moment of what I think is my entire life up to
Okay.
this moment. I believe it was a Wednesday night, and I get a text from my coach. Hey, can you come in before practice tomorrow to our office?
Oh boy.
And I was walking in to
Now,
get
did you
dinner
know
with
what
my
that
father.
meant at the time or no?
No, but I think that deep down I did. I think
Okay.
deep down I did, but I don't think I wanted to believe it. And so I'm walking in, I'm getting dinner with my father at the time, and he's like, I told him about it. He's like, no, you're fine. I screenshot it. I text to some friends. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? Do you think
Yeah.
that it's something bad? And up to this point, I will say, and I will say this to the day I die, this was the best week of field hockey I had ever played in my life. The best week of field hockey I'd ever played. I was killing it. I was getting compliments from other girls on the team. I was getting compliments from some of the coaches. I was killing it that week, which I will say I think was a God thing because I think he knew that was
Mhm.
going to be happening at the end of the week. And so they wanted me to go out on a high note. But I kind of knew. I got dinner. I had an exam late that night, of course, at Rutgers because it's such a big school. They give you
Yep.
exams at like 10 p.m. at night.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And so I have to take this exam. My mind is racing. I cannot sit down and take this exam, which, again, Jeff, we talk about academics and playing a sport. You know, your typical student, I'm sure so many people have so many things going on in their lives,
Right.
right? But when
Oh
you're
yeah.
an athlete, like this is a very real reality where you have to sit down and take an exam and you have so much going on with your sport here, but you just have to like push that to the side. And in this case, I couldn't. I
Yeah.
have, I don't think I performed well on the exam, which was very out of nature
Well,
for
you
me.
you 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 must have done okay because you finished with a 3.9.
Thank you.
You can't have that many whoopsies on exams and when
Yeah,
3.9.
definitely made up for it. But,
Yeah.
I have that exam and I don't go to bed that night, but I wake up the next morning and I'm going through the motions, and I remember the day too. Like it was just something felt different in the air for me. And it sounds weird to say, but I think if anybody experiences something so pivotal in your life, you just know
Yeah.
what I'm talking
Now,
about.
this is your sophomore year,
This is my freshman year, actually.
freshman
Yep.
year.
So I got a season in, and I walk into my coach's office, and there we go again, the 4-on-1.
Oh,
And I knew at that moment. I'm walking through the door, I know at that moment. And so mentally while I'm walking to the chair that I'm going to be sitting in, I keep telling myself, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, because my coaches had made comments about how in that last meeting I walked out crying.
right.
And so I keep telling myself, you're not going to cry in front of them. And
But what's wrong with crying?
that's a great question, Jeff. And it actually, like, to that day, because I got comments about, like, the crying, it really set off a bad habit of me, like, disassociating from things in general.
Because when I see someone cry,
Mhm.
that tells me they care. Like they're
Yeah.
emotional. They're so emotionally involved that it
Mhm.
comes out. If
Yeah.
if you were just like, okay, whatever, who cares?
Yeah.
That's not what you're looking for.
Yeah. And I'm here, and you know, the fact that I'm telling myself, like, "You're not going to cry," is it I don't know, it's just a sad thing to think about that,
Yeah,
you're such a young I'm a young
yeah,
woman at that time,
yeah,
I'm not an adult even though I'm 19,
yeah.
and I'm sitting in this chair, and there's the 4 coaches, and it's me, and they're on one side, I'm on the
And
other
no
side.
support surrounding you anywhere. Nothing.
Nope.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there. I knew, right? So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I know this is gonna happen. I don't know how I knew, but I told myself, you're gonna go out here and you're gonna like hold your head high and you're gonna be respectful and you're gonna
Yep.
thank them and you're gonna be nice.
Hmm.
And I don't remember everything that was said, but I remember them saying, you're no longer going to be on this team.
Ugh.
And at the time, right, I was getting PT for my head. They said
Hmm.
I could still continue to go to the PT, which I'm very grateful for because, I was obviously healing from an injury.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't recall if they had said anything about the transfer portal. I feel like maybe they did. I never considered it because the reason I don't remember everything going on in this conversation is because the entire time I'm just telling myself, don't cry,
Don't
don't
cry.
cry, don't
Don't
cry
cry.
this whole time. So
Yeah.
they finished talking, I was cut from the team. And
Mm.
I do fully remember like everything that I said to them because I said, like, thank you for the opportunity. I was like, if there's anything that you need, if you need a team manager, if you need anything like that, I would be more than
Wow.
happy to be plugged because I'm also, though, clawing at trying to stay involved with this team.
Involved. Yep.
Like, I don't want to be fully cut from it because the anxieties and the fears that, oh, those are all of my friends. Athletes are all of my friends. They're not gonna be my
Yeah.
friends anymore. Like all of the parties that I go to, those are all athlete parties. Like I'm not an athlete anymore. I'm not gonna be involved in them. Like I get priority scheduling. I'm
Ugh.
not gonna have that anymore. You go through the physical fears. I'm working out all these times. I actually ended up gaining like 10, 15 pounds after I stopped playing field hockey because I wasn't
Working out. Yeah.
involved in that working out. I was so fearful of losing, of being so alone. That's what
Ugh.
it was. That feeling of being alone. And I knew like I knew that was gonna happen even if people didn't tell me that. So, I thanked them for the opportunity. I held my head high and I was so proud of myself because I walked out of that office and I didn't cry. And I remember that. I remember being like, you didn't cry. But I walked to the stairs and one of the team captains is standing there. And I see her
Now, did
and
she know?
you know, the team captains knew. They just obviously like couldn't say anything to me.
Yeah.
Um
Which
I
is hard, which is
bro-
horrible, by the way.
Mhm.
At least they can warn you and prepare you or with something, But
Yeah.
obviously
It
they,
was rough, and I see her, I break down,
yeah.
completely break down because that was the first time I was seeing somebody that I'm like, "Oh, I'm seeing somebody who's probably not gonna be my friend in a few months." And
Mm,
that's what it meant to that's what it felt to me,
yeah.
I don't have you anymore, and she brought me into the bathroom, and she calmed me down a little bit, and, one of
All
the
right.
things that my coaches wanted was they did not want me to tell the team. They wanted to be the ones to tell the team, and so they had asked me to, like, wait to clear out my locker and everything until after the team was either at practice or left so that they could be the first ones.
Yeah.
This was the only thing that I feel like I didn't necessarily respect that they asked of me because I felt, no, if you're gonna cut me from the team, like I'm gonna go down and I'm gonna tell my team. So
Yeah.
I went down and I went into the locker room and I said to all the girls, like, I just got cut from the team, and the whole team was very nice and supportive of me at that moment. At that moment, obviously, I'm crying my eyes out.
Yeah.
Some of the other girls are very upset. Like everybody's comforting me. And I got my stuff and I walked out. And the worst part of that day that I always tell people was I always got rides with the older girls to practice.
Yeah.
And, we would take the bus sometimes, but
Yeah.
at Rutgers, there's different campuses, so you have to take the
Right.
buses.
Yep.
Well, I didn't have a ride, right? Because they're at practice. So I have to hop on the bus. And that was the most humbling experience of my life
You became a
because
traditional student.
yep, became a traditional student, and I'm also sitting on the bus, and I'm trying not to cry. I'm looking out the
Yeah.
window of this public bus, and I'm
Yeah.
trying not to cry because everybody else is just, like, going on with their days,
Oh,
but I
yeah.
just
Yeah.
had the biggest thing, like, I didn't know that I just played my last practice. I didn't know I played my last game. Like,
Mm.
I didn't know that I was gonna be part of this team for the last time, and so my field hockey career was ended, and I didn't even know it was ending, and that was such a hard thing that I had to wrestle with it, like, I felt like that was taken away from me.
Yeah.
I'm on this bus and I'm like crying my eyes out, my sunglasses on. I'm like looking out the window and the tears are just streaming down my face on the bus going from the the Livingston campus to
Yeah.
College Ave. And it was
Yeah.
humbling. It was really a tough day.
You know, I coined this phrase, and I think I've said it on every show. Um, and what you just explained is horrific. Because we're all there,
Yeah.
and we either are told we can't play anymore
Mhm.
by the coach's choice, or an injury physically keeps us from playing,
Yeah.
or we're just it's over.
Yeah.
Because the time's up. And
Yeah.
either you got too old or you're just not good enough to get to that next level. And
Mhm.
I say athletes die twice. They die when they're either told or the sport's taken away from them,
Mhm.
and then they have to live with it.
Yeah.
And this story that you have, that you're telling right now, which is incredible, is what's made you who you are. How you bounce around and are as bubbly and happily and joyfully and energetic as you are now, I have no idea how you do that after that. But guess what? You got to tell me times you got to tell this. And it's
Yeah.
emotional, it's painful.
It's very emotional. Like I'll tell you every time I relive it because now I feel so comfortable with it, right? Like I've
Yeah.
shared this on my podcast, like this is a big thing. And every time I tell it, it's like a fresh wound. And I feel even now like I'm a different person than I was when that happened.
Yeah.
Totally
Well, you
unrecognizable,
can
but
still
it
see the emotion. You can
reopens.
see the emotion. You can
Yeah.
see it inside, and it's painful, man.
Yeah.
It's painful.
It's
Yeah.
very painful. And it's the immediate aftermath of it too, right? So, like, I get cut from the team and think of all of the free time I have now in my calendar because I
Yeah.
had blocks for practices, 3,
Yeah.
4-hour blocks for practices.
Yeah.
The team is traveling. My roommate was a field hockey player. I had already signed a lease to live with
Oh,
field hockey players for my sophomore year, which we'll get into that a little bit later, but that was also a very interesting experience. They have this big award show for Rutgers athletes at the
yeah.
end of the year.
Yep.
And I like, they were like, "Oh, you can come," but I wasn't part of the team, and that was one of the hardest parts because
Right.
I had made the decision myself, "I'm not gonna go to this," and I was looking forward to that literally the whole entire year.
Yeah.
So, I lost out on that
Like a
social
big
aspect. Things
party.
changed. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 But again, it made me who I am today. Like, I can go in and this brings me back to what I was saying to my new boss the other day. I work for a minor league sports team now,
That's got to be
and
a lot of fun.
I'm a big hockey girl, big ice hockey girl. So
Yeah.
I work on game nights and then I'm kind of an intern right now, hoping to turn it into like more of a full-time position.
Yep.
Um, but I was telling him, you can be brutally honest with me. Give me feedback. I'm not going to take it personally because I've been there and it's not going to affect me in the way that it used to because I've
Yeah.
lived through that already. I've lived through that. So it shaped me. I was a disaster for months after that. I feel like I was not the type of person that I wanted to be, partying a little bit too much, maybe running around and making some bad decisions and just not being the person who I am. And, sophomore year rolls around and I'm living with the field hockey girls, but, we had a dry season. So they had a dry season. They can't go out at all during their season.
Yep.
And naturally, I was going out a lot and I was coming back and, they're kind of getting ready for the games. I'm coming back after having one too few many drinks. And
Yeah.
it was just a weird dynamic. And then there was a lot of tension between me and some girls in the house, and it wasn't going well. And it was so hard for me to be around the girls, to live with them
Mm.
every day, to see them leaving for practice, leaving for games. And I wish that I was better at being able to communicate those emotions to them because
Yeah.
instead, I feel like I didn't really open up to them about it, and it was eating at me so much that I decided to sublease my room in that house. And I
Mm.
didn't tell them that I was going to sublease that room. And I had like found somebody, and I was like, "Hey guys, just so you know, I'm subleasing this room. Somebody's coming to tour it." And that was all like the heads up that I had given them.
Yeah.
Um, it wasn't, like, leading into 2020, so it actually ended up kind of being a good thing for me because 2020 came around and nobody was there anyway,
Everything was
but
shut down.
I was just making decisions, and I feel like I turned into a person trying to figure out who I was now that I wasn't in that athlete
Yeah.
space.
Do you think this is a crazy question to ask you,
Mhm.
but do you think it's almost like you were looking for people to blame?
Yeah, oh, 100%. I actually fully convinced myself of this story, Jeff. I told myself this for a very long time that I was like, well, I'm not the worst player on the team. I couldn't admit that like I was the worst player on the team, right? So I was like,
Right.
I'm not the worst player on the team. And I would go around, I would tell people, and this is the story I came up with. I convinced myself that so we had this incredible all-American, one of the best players in Division One. She played for our team. She was from the Netherlands. After her sophomore year, she just decided she couldn't be away from home anymore. She just had to go back. So
Yeah.
she told the coaches, she's like, I'm not going to be coming back to Rutgers. So they lost this significant player of the
Yeah.
team. I didn't have a scholarship my freshman year, and I was going to be starting to have money my sophomore year. And I was of the like worst players of the team, I was the only one not on scholarship. So like
Yeah.
the others might not have been like the best players, but they had money coming to them, right? They
Yeah.
signed the contract.
Yeah.
So if people aren't familiar, when you sign a contract in Division 1, if your coach cuts you from the team for, like, not being good enough, they
Keep the
still have
money.
to pay you that money.
Yeah.
They can't just not pay you that.
Yeah.
So I, like, came up with this story that I would tell people. I'm like, "I'm not the worst one on this team. Actually, like, this girl's the worst on the team, but she's on scholarship and I'm not, and they need the money that they were going to give me to get another international." So, like, really they cut me because of, like, financial reasons, it's
Yeah.
not because I was the worst on, and I convinced myself of that.
Yeah.
And, you know, and looking back now, I can just say it was a business decision.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I've realized a lot of things in life, they're not personal.
Yeah.
A lot
It's
of
hard
them,
not, but it's
it's
hard
just a
not to
business.
take that personal.
Yeah. It is
You know?
hard. It is
I
hard.
know.
And now I can see it as like, okay, I just wasn't a great fit for the team. It was more of a business decision. But at the time, Jeff, I definitely was looking for excuses, looking for people to
Yeah.
blame, trying just not to take accountability that it just didn't work out the way
Yeah.
that I wanted it to.
How about this crazy question?
Hmm.
Villanova.
Yeah.
How do you think things would have turned out if you went there? Because Villanova and Rutgers look field hockey. They're not neck and neck.
No, so Rutgers is much, much, much better than, at
Right.
least when I played, they were much better.
They
Villanova was like bottom of Division 1 when I was
but
getting
there,
recruited.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
still a lot of discrepancy.
Yes.
I wonder how things would have gone if you went there, and because there's no way they're gonna say you're the worst.
No. That
You know,
was, I used to think about that a lot. I used to think about the fact that I probably would have played. I probably would
yeah,
have gotten playing time.
a lot of money.
A lot of money. I thankfully, I actually ended up graduating. I don't know if we talked about this. I graduated college a year early.
No,
So I ended up thankfully not coming out with too much of student debt because
that's good.
when I didn't play field hockey, I was like, do you know how much time I have? I'm taking extra classes. I'm graduating a year early.
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
It's amazing how
Um,
much time you have, isn't it? And how much time you spend in this sport. That's another thing that the public and the traditional student who walks around campus,
mhm.
they don't You're spending 40 hours, maybe more a week in your
Yeah.
sport.
Yes. It's literally a full-time
It
job on
is.
top of
Yeah.
your full-time class schedule.
Right.
And so, I do think about that with Villanova. And at the time, it crossed my mind. So my now husband, he went to Providence College for college,
Okay.
and it crossed my mind at one time. I was like, maybe I should transfer to play at Providence because I totally could have played at Providence. I never actually acted on that, and I didn't really give the transfer portal any consideration. And
Yeah.
do you know why I think that? Because when I got cut from the team, I knew that I didn't want to play field
You
hockey.
were done.
It was an out for me.
Yeah.
It was an out that I didn't know I needed, but that I really did.
Right.
and I didn't want to be playing field hockey anymore. And it made me feel like, oh, I'm not this athlete. Like I'm not this person. But again, it made me be able to discover all the different avenues that comes just because you don't play a team sport does not mean you're not an athlete. And it took me a
Right.
long time to figure that out. I got
Yeah.
super, super, super into weightlifting
Okay.
my sophomore year of college. So that was where my passion went into that. And then obviously it turned into I've run 3 half marathons now. I just finished my first marathon and I'm training now for the New York City half marathon that I'm going to try to do a sub 155 half marathon, which is a big goal for me.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Yes.
You know as well as I do, you got to change the language. What did you just say?
Did I say I'm going to
You're
try?
going to try.
Yep, I got to change that because I even did that on my Instagram story this morning. And I'm a big mindset person. So you're right.
Yep.
I will do
Yep.
it.
You
Yep,
will do it.
I
You know?
will do it. You know it, Jeff. I'm so big on mindset with that stuff. And
Yeah.
that's something
Yeah.
I've learned. I mean, and I still catch, but again, I try to be a very positive person, a very bubbly person, a very like determined, I'm going to do this
Yep.
person.
Yep.
But that's just sometimes it just slip up. It
Yeah. It
just
happens. It
happens.
happens. So let's think about this for, I mean, you just told a phenomenal story, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you opening up and being
Of
vulnerable and
course.
humble and telling that. Oh my God. So how has that shaped your identity, who you are now,
Mhm.
with all the things you want to accomplish in the future going forward?
In so many ways, I feel like I had to hit this bottom and get humbled to realize how much work needs to be put into things to find success. Because I feel like
Mm,
for so long in my life, a lot of things naturally came to me. And this was the first time that I was hitting that, like, oh, maybe I'm not just like great at everything that I do. Maybe I will hit roadblocks. And so what this taught me, oh man, so many things. Number one, it taught me that I actually need to really focus my energy and my effort on my mindset and my attitude. I think
mm,
a lot about mindset and attitude in my reactions. I think a lot about my emotions. I let myself feel my emotions. It's a very big thing for me nowadays. I used to think like, oh, if you feel emotions, you're too sensitive, but I bring that into everything I do. If I'm interviewing somebody or if I'm talking to somebody, if I'm happy, you're going to get me happy. If I'm
yeah,
sad, you're going to get me sad. If I'm angry,
yeah,
you're going to get me angry. Like I am just
yeah.
going to show that.
But
And
your
that was one big
emotion,
thing.
do you find yourself because of what you went through,
Mhm,
especially in front of the coaches, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry.
mhm,
Like, do you find yourself trying to control that too much? Or you feel like, hey, you realize,
mhm.
hey, I don't have to control it. I can actually let it go.
Took me a very long time. So I noted this a little bit earlier, but I got very familiar with like disassociating like from a situation.
Yeah.
So one of the big things I talked that I've been in therapy now for 10 years. I'm one of the biggest believers of it. And I do it for maintenance. I think it's one of the best things. I'll never not go to therapy. One of the big things that we work on is recognizing you can feel your feelings. It's okay to feel your feelings because again, I would disassociate. I don't think I cried for like a year straight, which is not normal for me. Like, I got very good at being at it, like, looking at it and taking a step back, almost visualizing that, like, my body is there, but, like, I'm outside of my body. So, like, "Oh, that person is handling the situation, but, like, mentally, I'm somewhere else, so I don't have to
Yeah.
handle that." And
It's
I
almost like you could watch yourself.
exactly. And
Yeah.
it came from that situation, but I'm working through that,
Yeah.
So, feeling the feelings is a big thing. I think one of the other big things is I needed to get cut from the team in order to know, like, what I wanted to do in life. So, I never considered any hobbies that I was interested in. I love to talk about this on my podcast. I was always Devon the field hockey player. I was always Devon, like, "Oh, what do you do?" "I play field hockey." "Oh, but, like, what else do you do?" If I was in high school, oh man, I
It's who you
wish that I
were. It
revisited
was your
this.
sole identity.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I never considered what are my interests outside of it. I created this whole plan in my mind. I'm going to play field hockey for 4 years. I'm going to go get a well-paying job at a well-paying company, which I did do. I got a well-paying job. I was a cybersecurity consultant at a firm called Deloitte for 3 years, and I did that. I thought that was exactly my path of what I needed to do. Not my passion. I enjoyed it there and it was great for the time being, but I needed this to push me to be like, "Okay, what do you actually want to do in life?" And I think
Yeah.
people need to step back and be like, You might think that you're defined by one thing, but you can do so many things." And I like to tell athletes that I talked to And this is something I really one of my passions. I want to travel around to colleges and give like keynote speaking at some point in my life. I think that's one of
Let's
my
do
big
it
goals that
together.
I have. Let's do it. Or oh my gosh, that would be a blast. We totally should. But one of my big
Well,
things is
here's one of the things I want to do.
yeah.
Maybe we could do this. I want to buy an RV, a nice drivable one, right? I want to wrap it
Yeah.
up with "Are You Strong" on the sides. I want to set up on the inside with microphones,
Oh
cameras, and
man.
travel college to college and interview athletes.
That would be so
How
fun.
sick would that be?
That would be Jeff. Oh my gosh, you got to make that happen.
Yeah,
That would be
that's
so
that's part of the
incredible.
dream here.
Right. Oh man, I love that. But
Yeah.
it comes back to I always tell my athletes, when you're thinking of yourself and your identity, I want you to think of I'm not Devon the field hockey player. If I were to go back to it, I would think of what do I like about being an athlete? I'm Devon. I enjoy the commitment of being an athlete. I'm Devon. I like the physical aspect of it. I like being physically fit. I like the mental challenges that it possesses. Like I like having to work through that. It makes me mentally strong. I like having to overcome things. I like having to set a goal, reach a goal. I like to compete. That was one of my
Yeah.
biggest things. I liked to compete. And on my journey of figuring out that you can be an athlete even if you're not on a team sport. This is all things that I realized, right? So now when I'm training for my races, I never considered myself a runner ever. I hated
Not
running field
easy.
hockey. I hated it. But now, you know what it is? It's I look at it less as running and I look at it as I'm training for a competition that I can do that I'm excited about. It's more about the journey for me, the working through it part of it for me. And that's a huge thing. You need to take a step back. You need to think about, okay, what makes me me instead of what either other people are telling you you are or what you think you need to be? Like, what actually makes you you? And I
Mm.
wouldn't have discovered that. I wouldn't have been where I am today had I not gotten cut from the field hockey team. It was a blessing in disguise. I didn't want to
Yeah.
play field hockey and I needed it to happen, but I just didn't know that was the way that I
Like you
needed it.
found yourself,
Yes. Mhm.
you know?
After some time, I will say I was a hot mess express. Like, I always say, if people knew sophomore Devon, please don't ever talk about her because she is not who I am now. But it really is. I was able to find my passion for sports. I've always loved
Yep.
sports, always loved being an athlete, right? So now as I'm discovering this new phase in my life and this new phase in my career, figuring out my podcast is amazing and I love doing my podcast. I'm a photographer. I'm a professional photographer. I never knew that I liked that until after I was out of sports. I never
Yep.
thought about doing that. And I always figured I can't be involved in sports because I got cut from this team. Like I'm not invited into this world. Who told me that? That was
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And now this year, since January, as I said, am an avid ice hockey fan, huge ice hockey fan. So I've been wanting to get involved. I networked with a ton of people in the NHL earlier this year.
Cool.
And I live down in Savannah with my husband. He's in the military and he's getting ready for his deployment over to Europe for 9 months. And so I said to myself, I need to. I love my podcast. I love being an entrepreneur, but I need to be working in person. I need to be with people. I'm a yapper. If people can't tell from this, I'm a yapper.
A little
A
bit.
little bit of a yapper. So that brought me and I was like, what do I really want to do? And I got a job with our local professional minor league ice hockey team, the Savannah Ghost Pirates, which people are watching the video. I
Yep.
actually have
There you go.
Usher on here. And I work their game nights. I do graphics for game nights. So anything that goes up on the Jumbotron, I basically help get all those graphics ready. Overlays, if we're shooting video, we want to put like a player stat or
Yeah.
something. I
Cool.
do all of that behind the scenes, which is incredible and so fun and something I never
Now, is that
would have
like
thought that
on
I
the
would do.
fly as the game's going on? You're doing all that stuff?
So we have all the graphics preloaded and then I just get them ready. So if we're like, oh, we need to put this sponsor up, then I'll
Yeah.
go to that graphic we already have, put it in our like system to get it ready
Yeah.
to go live. And then we just press the go live button and it gets up there.
Cool.
So we have a script for it that we go over every single game of like all the sponsors or anything that we need to do. And it's a world I never don't want to be involved in now. Like this is where I'm supposed to be
Yeah.
in the sports world. And I was saying I am interning a little bit for them right now as well. And
Mhm.
I'm able to use my time at Deloitte as a consultant and the skills I was big in project managing there.
Yeah.
And I am using those skills now to bring it and do some work for them interning. And we're hoping to be able to turn it into more of a full-time position come the new year. Hopefully we'll find a space that I'll be able to be a
Yeah.
little bit more permanent. Um, but it always comes back to when you're in a place where you don't think that you need to be or you don't think that you want to be in, right? So I didn't necessarily want to be in Deloitte. I was like, "Oh, like, I won't take anything from there. It wasn't for me."
Yeah.
With
Right.
field hockey getting cut from the team, it wasn't for me. No,
Yeah.
because now everything that I've gone through, every experience I'm using in the next one, and it's making me better and more valuable and makes me more me than I've ever been.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this question.
Mhm.
When you were playing at the peak of your field hockey days, when you
Mhm.
just put yourself out on, even though you realize, hey, I don't want to really play anymore, but when you were out there playing at your peak, how
Mhm.
were you feeling?
At my peak, I was probably actually, you know what my peak was? It was high school. That's when my peak in
Okay.
field hockey
So
was.
when
It
you were
had
out there, were you
yeah,
feeling exuberance, euphoria, excitement, energy?
100%.
Right.
I was in my zone. Like, when I was out there and my team all got together really well, and I ended up having an incredible relationship with my high school coach. We were winning championships. Like, when I was out there, it was my place. That was where I was supposed to be. And
Yeah.
and I've talked about, yeah, I guess I talked a lot about the not wanting to play field hockey aspect of it, but there was a time in my life where I loved it. And I
Right.
felt like I belonged and I felt like it was for me. And I love being part of a team more than anything. That is
Right.
probably what I loved most about field hockey. I had this oh man, I mean, you can feel the energy. I'm literally
Yeah.
imagining it right now,
Yep.
Jeff, like
Yep.
coming, like being on the field.
Yep. And that's why I'm bringing it up. And this is what I
Yeah.
I coach people on, because I talk to a lot of college kids now that they don't know what they want to do,
Yeah.
and I say, hey, if you're a true college athlete, you either want to work in your sport when you
Mhm.
graduate, either play or coach,
Yeah.
or you want to find something that puts you around sports or
Yeah.
sports-minded people. Because when you were at Deloitte, right,
Mhm.
you didn't get that feeling like you're out on the field. You're like this, you're like, I can't wait to get out of here, right?
I was like, I fear I don't love to provision username and passwords. I
Right,
just don't.
right. But now when you're working for the hockey team, you're doing photography, you're
Mhm.
doing your podcast, you're getting that same feeling as when you're at your peak on the field.
100%.
Right.
And you can't describe it unless
Yeah,
people can feel it. And that's why
you
I'm like,
can't.
I can feel it in my body
Right.
right now. But
Oh yeah.
I talk to people a lot too. And they're like, you seem so happy. You just
Right.
seem like you're in your place.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Working for a sports team, doing all this, and sports has funny hours, right? So
Yeah.
sports, you have games at weird hours.
Yeah. You don't
I could
care.
care less.
Yeah.
It does not
It's not
feel
work.
like a job at
Yeah.
all when I go
Right.
to it. I love it. I
Right.
love it. It makes me happy. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like this is my place. And it's nice to know that in life there are different areas that can be your place. It's not just one thing, and I
Yeah.
think a message to all the athletes who are retiring from your sport, or maybe you got injured and you can't play your sport anymore, or maybe you just got cut from your team and you're not playing your sport anymore. The beautiful thing about life is that we go through different phases of life, and the
Yeah.
person that we are, you're going to find where you're supposed to be in each of those different phases.
Yeah.
It's not one thing for the entire time. So
Yeah.
you're supposed to be where you're supposed to be when you're playing your college sport. But guess what? When that
Yeah.
time comes to an end, something bigger, better, greater is waiting for you for that phase of your life. You grow with it. And
Yeah.
that's a beautiful thing.
So what advice can you give to the athletes that are coming close to that,
Mhm.
that part in their life of, hey, it's almost over or it is over, to
Mhm.
prepare them for when it is over?
Yeah. Two things. First thing, allow yourself to feel the feelings. Don't think that you can't feel a certain way. I
Mm,
think, especially, I know naturally females are more emotional, shall we say, than men, but like,
I don't
especially
know
for
about
men.
that. I don't know about that. I think if we go back to the before, we're talking, well, men control it better, maybe.
Yeah, maybe
That's,
that's a good way to put
yeah.
it.
It doesn't
Yes.
mean they're not inside burning up and feeling it.
Yes. Yes. So maybe I'll rephrase this to be feel your feelings and feel like you're able to express your feelings.
Mm,
That's the big thing. Is don't feel like you can't express them, because for a long time I was like, I don't think somebody's going to want to hear me talk about this. People aren't going to want to hear me complain about how I'm feeling about this, especially people who maybe aren't in that space, because they're like, well, you got to play a sport. So why are
yeah.
you like complaining? You got that time. Allow yourself to feel your feelings, express your feelings, be in the moment. Be in the moment with it. and bask in it. Don't wallow, but allow yourself to feel it. And the second thing is know that there is opportunity coming for you. I think a lot of people get nervous or maybe scared of what's to come next. And that's
Like,
natural
what's
for
next?
anybody moving on. What is next? That is a scary, scary question. And don't shy away from that question. Face it head on. Like you said, Jeff, I think it's amazing that you talk to college athletes about coaching them through what they want to do.
Yeah.
Approach that head on,
Yeah.
because if you don't have a plan or if you don't have any idea, you're going to finish your sport and you're going to feel lost. That's how I
Yeah.
feel. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have an idea. I felt lost. I was in this space. I was acting like a different person. Well, now, for example, if we're putting it in my shoes, my marathon ended. I trained for 7 months for my
Oh,
marathon. And when it ends, that's a long dedication of your life to put to
oh
one
yeah.
thing. I was nervous for it to end because I didn't want it. That's what I've been doing. So I signed up for another race. I said, you know what? I know I'm going to want to do something different. I know I'm going to want to push myself in another way. So, how can I push myself? How can I approach this in a different way? I signed up for the New York City half marathon. I said, if I get accepted into this lottery, it was meant to be. I got accepted. And guess what? Now I have something else to look forward to. So, I was still being present with my marathon training, but I just knew like after this, I'm going to have another amazing,
Another
exciting thing to
goal.
look
Yeah.
forward to. Exactly.
That's it's having something to look forward to that gives you the same euphoric feeling.
Hmm.
Like that's like you can't sleep. You get
Yeah.
up, you can't go to bed, you keep thinking about it. But when you're in something like if I go back to Deloitte, nothing wrong with that, right?
Hmm.
But you
Yeah.
like, listen, when's this going to end?
Oh, I asked myself that question
Yeah,
every
you
day.
know. So when you're out there, when people are out there looking for a job, looking for whatever that next thing is,
Hmm.
I always say try and find something that's going to give you the same excitement. It's like the pregame. You know, like,
Yes.
hey, yeah, like I can't wait to get out there, and the
Oh,
energy,
man.
it's driving you and pushing you.
The locker room, like,
Oh
actually,
yeah,
it's funny you say that because on my drives, I have a 30-minute commute to the arena that I work
yeah.
at for the hockey team. I blast music. I'm in the car
Oh yeah, you
dancing. Like
jacked up.
I make it a whole experience. You'll
Yeah,
see, I post these things go on my TikTok and my
yeah,
Instagram. And at first I thought it was silly, but before my runs, I have a little dance party before my runs because it gets me ready to go. Like it gets me in the
yeah,
mood and I'm excited about it. And at first I was like, oh, people are going to think I'm so weird for this. And I was like, you know what? I don't care because it makes me happy. I feel happy and
yeah,
excited and it gets you going. I feel like you can feel it right now.
yeah. You just said it makes you happy,
Yeah.
and I think so many people spend so much of their life trying worrying about making other people happy,
Hmm.
and it
Oh,
doesn't make
yeah.
them happy.
Hmm.
You know, which
Yeah, and
which
that's a
is
hard thing to
crazy.
break. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a hard thing to break,
Yeah.
but if you can
So
start focusing on what you need and you want,
yeah,
that's a huge thing.
yeah. So looking back. I mean, it's not that far back for you. You're still
No.
very, very young.
Mhm.
Um, is there anything you would change?
Not one thing. I always say I wish that maybe I had considered the transfer portal. Not that I necessarily would have used it, not that I necessarily would have changed. But I think I was very closed mind because I was so in my head that like I was cut from this team. I wasn't a field hockey player. I had been told I was the worst. So I think I got myself so convinced that I was just bad and I wasn't good enough and nobody would want me. And I
Mm,
wish I had taken a step back and been like, there are actually other options.
yeah,
Let's just look into it. You can look into the transfer portal. It doesn't mean that you're in
can't
it.
hurt to
It
look,
doesn't mean you're
right?
going to do it. You can go into the transfer portal, doesn't mean you're going to transfer. Like
Yeah,
I wish I had had a little bit more open-mindedness, but again, everything that happened was supposed to happen the way that it was.
right.
I wouldn't change a thing. I'm the athlete that I am today because I played my college sport,
Yeah.
and I was a college athlete. Even though it was cut short, I still was a college athlete. And that was something that I had to wrestle with for a long time that, hey, I still did it.
You
So,
achieved your dream from when
mhm,
you were 8 years old.
exactly.
8, 9, 10, 11. I'm going to be a D1 athlete.
Yeah.
It didn't work out in the perfect fashion you wanted it to,
Hmm.
but you know how many people like they'll never have a shot at getting there.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
I mean, the kids coming out of high school today just to play college sports in itself, I don't care what division, it's like
Hmm.
almost zero, like 3%. It's
Yeah.
so small,
Yeah.
you know?
Hmm.
And then to
Yeah.
play at the Big Ten level,
Which I have to say was incredible. Being
yeah,
able to travel, I love to travel now. That
yeah,
was one of my favorite things. We got to fly on the planes to go
Oh
to
yeah.
Ohio State for
Hotels.
Big Ten tournament.
Oh
We went to
yeah.
University of Michigan. University of
The
Michigan.
big house.
Oh my God, how
Oh
cool
yeah.
that place was.
Oh yeah.
I got to go to Indiana at the time. One of my good high school friends went to Indiana,
Yep.
and I got to see her when I was there. We got to travel to these places. It's an incredible experience. I will never ever knock being a Division 1 Big Ten athlete and say that like my experience, obviously it didn't end the way that I wanted it to, but being in that division at that level was an
Yeah.
experience I wouldn't trade for anything. And I'm so grateful that I got to do it.
No, I bet.
So cool.
It's just memories and memories and memories that
Oh
you'll
my
cherish. But
gosh.
you know what's really cool? It sounds like your mom was super influential in your life.
Yes.
Okay.
Majorly.
And her experience was different than yours playing in college because
Hmm.
she's D3,
Yep.
right?
Hmm.
You were, D1,
Yeah.
so different. But between what you've learned from your mother, what you've learned on your own,
Hmm.
can you imagine the influence should be on your own kids when it's their turn?
I get so emotional thinking about being able to raise kids. I always say I think my calling 100%. I say I love to work in sports. My calling is to be a mom.
Yeah.
That is I was meant to be a mom. I want a lot of kids. I want a big family,
How many you want?
4 to 5. I want
Okay.
a big family. My husband says 4. We'll see.
More?
I guess we'll see. God willing. So
You better have a
we'll
great paying job.
I know that's why I'm like I think we'll be living in Tennessee. But I want a big family, and I just want them to experience life in such a positive way that like the lessons that I've learned, like you said, the lessons that my mom learned. My mom came from a childhood that if you've heard of the glass castle before, that's kind of a similar type of life that my mom lived when she was young. And she came and is the most incredible person that I know in my life.
Yeah.
She is my best friend, and she to be like a grandmother to my children one day gets me emotional to think about. She's always a mom. I mean, there's a video of her when I was at my marathon and she's screaming for me because I'm about to pass the finish line.
Yeah.
She's crying her eyes
Oh
out
yeah.
because she's so happy and proud, and
Now,
she like cheers for me the
was she tough
loudest.
growing up?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My mom is a tough cookie. Like she is a
Okay.
tough cookie, yeah. And I saw her at the end and she's just like crying and so happy.
Oh yeah.
And to be able to feel like I want to show my kids this stuff.
Yeah.
We were talking before this about the fact that you ran your marathon with your daughter. And I feel
Yeah.
like for you to be able to share that experience with her
Oh,
and
it's
walk
incredible.
through this is something. Oh, I just can't wait to be a mom, Jeff.
Yeah, it is to share a special emotional moment with your kids.
Mhm.
It's like being on the field again. I can't explain it, and it's just another stage of your life. Like, wow, this is what it's all about.
And that's it. It's those moments. Like we were also chatting about my marathon. I'm approaching mile 23. The minute mile 23 happened, I don't know what came over me, but tears are just coming down my face. I'm trying to stop. I have videos of me like
Yeah,
wiping my tears
it's tears
away.
of joy and accomplishment.
Right. There was a time it was mile 25, which was the fastest mile for me, which is crazy. Not like physically fastest, but it went by the
It's because
fastest.
the endorphins are kicking in, the
Oh
emotions are
man.
kicking in. Yeah,
And I have to stop myself from sobbing because I need to run. I need to breathe. And I could tell, like, if I start
yeah,
sobbing, I'm not
yeah,
going to stop because I'm saying in my head, like, you're on mile 25 of marathon. And I'm literally saying, hey, Dev, you can do hard things. You can do hard things. So many people in their lifetime are going to say, I could never do that, but good for you.
mm.
Like, I could never do that. And you're proving to yourself that you're never going to sit here and say, I can't do that because you're doing it right now. Like you're doing the hard things.
And you
And
want to hear something that's really cool? Not
of
to cut you off, but
course,
I'll
no,
forget.
I gotta hear it.
Is and you've seen this stat: less than 1% of the world's population, not the US, not
Hmm.
New Jersey, not Georgia, South Carolina, the
Yeah.
world's population, less than 1% of the world's population has run a marathon. Not a half marathon, a full marathon. Think about that. Think about the company you're in now.
I love, I love the people that I'm with too. the people you're surrounded by who are
Yeah.
doing this.
Oh,
Another piece of advice, Jeff, to all the athletes, if your body can do it, right? If you don't have a significant injury that stops you from doing
yeah.
this, I challenge every college athlete who is wrapping up their time to sign up for a marathon or
Yeah.
to sign up for a half marathon,
Yep.
sign up for one of them because it gives you, like you said, those endorphins. It
Purpose.
it gives me I actually, funny enough, always said this on my Instagram stories on my podcast. To me, finishing this marathon actually meant more than graduating college. And I think it was because graduating college for me, I always knew I was going to do it. It
Yeah.
was always in the plan. I always knew I was just going to go to school and I got my business
Yeah. It
degree in
was a
business
given.
analytics, information technology, and I graduated summa cum laude, and it was always the plan.
Yeah.
And this marathon, I was proving to myself that like I'm doing something that a lot of other people don't do.
Yeah.
And it was a journey for me. And I got injured halfway through it, so I had to take a break. And I don't like taking a break. I don't like not following the
Yeah.
plan exactly. But it taught me sometimes you just have to take a step back.
Yeah.
And so I challenge everybody, sign up for a half marathon or marathon, even if you're not a runner. I literally
Yeah.
was running 0 miles in May. And then I signed up for a marathon and trained for 7 months. So do it. I was running no miles.
And I think that to round out what you just said there is like everything you just mentioned about your life and school and everything, it was expected of you.
Yeah.
And no one expected you to run a marathon.
Nope.
You know what I mean? It's like when you do the unexpected, that's what, holy smokes,
It
you
feels
know?
so good. And
Oh yeah.
I had done, have you heard of the 75 hard challenge
Yeah.
before?
Oh yeah.
I did 75 hard in the beginning of the year. And it was because I was ready. I was just ready for a change. I
Yeah.
feel like I don't know, something just needed to change. I was going out
Yeah.
a lot and I wasn't eating great and I just didn't feel good. And so I decided to do 75 hard out of nowhere. I did it, started the week before my birthday, which was out of character because normally me, I'm a social butterfly. I go out to the bar for my birthday. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
started it literally the week before my birthday. I did 75 hard. It changed my life. I
Yeah.
talked to Ryan Cassidy about this. It changed my life. And
Yeah.
now I don't think I'll ever not do a challenge. Like
Yeah.
I'll always be doing something because it
Yeah.
gives you that feeling and it gives you that purpose. And I think
Yeah.
purpose is the biggest thing that you need in life.
Yeah. That's awesome. So
Yeah.
what's the future look like for you? What's the career plans? What if you could paint the picture, the vision for Devon, what does it look like?
I barely have words because it's just so much. I'm just so excited about it. I have so many goals and aspirations for my podcast. I just want to keep on plugging away and making it a fun experience. For me, like, I don't want my podcast to end up feeling like a job. So the podcast is
Yeah.
going to be fun. If there are people listening to this that are interested in, being on Jeff's podcast or being on my podcast, like, reach
Well,
out. Like,
tell them about
the
talk
more
about yours.
stories, the better. Well, yeah.
How
So
can
it's,
they find you? How
yeah.
can
So
they
it's
find you and
called
your show?
Real Life Plays with Devon Horan. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. My Instagram is devon.horan, and that's where I do everything. So, my podcast, right, it's about every single aspect of being an athlete. We talked about it a little bit before. I
Yeah.
go into the academic, the finances, the relationships, the social part of it,
Yeah.
actually the physical part of playing the sport, but then I go beyond that. I go careers in sports. We talk about,
Yeah.
I have this incredible interview. He's the main videographer for Ohio State football team, and he's incredible. He shares his story. I talked to somebody who did digital media marketing at the NHL team, the Columbus Blue Jackets, and that was actually just a blast. Like, we got along
Cool.
so well. And so I do all these different aspects. If you're involved, I want to talk to people who haven't played a sport but are involved in sports.
Yeah.
I welcome all these different aspects. So that's that. But then my Instagram goes on even further. And we said I do these marathons. I track and I film my whole
The entire
training
journey. Oh
process.
yeah.
So Jeff follows me on Instagram. He sees
Yeah.
them. I go on my little Instagram. It's the most
Yeah.
awkward thing in the world to have my phone and talking to it in the middle of the street, but I do it. And I really try to document all of that fun stuff. And it warms my heart because I had people from high school I haven't talked to since high school
Yeah.
message me the day of my marathon being like, I followed your journey this entire time. Good luck. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, that just warms my heart.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to keep doing that, keep
Yeah.
documenting the fitness stuff. I'm going to keep doing the podcast, my photography. I'm going to continue to do it. I do weddings and things like that. I'm taking a step back from taking my own weddings and just doing more second shooting because it is time to plug in to what I want my sports career to be because
Yeah.
that is the goal for me. And that is my end goal, what I've realized working in hockey. And I
Okay.
hate to pigeonhole myself like that, but
Is
I
it
want to
hockey
work in
only or
hockey.
any team sport?
I really just want to work in ice hockey. That
Okay.
is my passion. There's something electric about that sport that I just cannot describe that is just unlike anything
When
else.
those horns go off, man, it's nuts.
Oh my, well, let me tell you something. I press the goal horn. That's
Oh,
part
you
of my
do?
job.
Okay.
Except one time I accidentally pressed the goal horn when they didn't score a goal, and that was not good.
That probably wasn't a good
But
thing, right?
oh man, but again with sports, I in any capacity, what I'm learning is that I'm showing up to this minor league hockey team. They started what 3 years ago, maybe, and so it's really, if you think of it, kind of like a small big business.
Yeah.
So there's so much growth in it, and I'm getting to experience so many different aspects of it, the marketing aspect of it, the graphics aspect of it, the
Yeah.
project management, actually running the teams aspect of it. And I don't know what I want to do, but I know I want to be in sports. I know that I want to be in hockey. I know that I really want to be involved in either like the event side or the project management side of like running a
Yeah.
team. I love that. There's nothing I love more. I'm a type A girly at my core. And, in 5 years from now, all I want is a healthy, happy family
Yeah.
and to be working in hockey and just enjoying life. That's it.
Well,
It's not
maybe
can't be much
maybe one
simpler,
maybe the New Jersey Devils will invite you up one day, or the Rangers, and then you move back home.
right? I actually have a, connection to the New Jersey Devils. He's the, operations guy so he runs
Okay.
all of their operations, travels with them, and
There you
I
go.
don't know, hopefully, maybe he'll have something open up at some point, and maybe I'll get looped in there, but that's what I always say, open mind. We've talked
Yeah.
with my husband being in the military, we've lived in Oklahoma, now we're in Georgia. We say we wanna live in Tennessee, and that's the goal as of now, but life is crazy, and you take
You never
unexpected
know.
who so who knows?
Tomorrow's another
Who
day. You never know.
who knows, right?
Well,
Oh,
Devin, I
man.
asked you a ton of stuff. We went down some pretty cool storylines here and inroads of your life. And is there anything I haven't asked you yet that you think we should touch on before we wrap it up?
Ooh, let's see here. I feel like when I ask this question people at the end of my podcast, I always take the perspective of what is not talked about enough in sports. And I feel like something that needs to be addressed that's not is our focus on these younger athletes. I am developing what I'm calling my 5 Ws of like sports for athletes that every single athlete should be asking themselves. So it's literally we learn our 5 Ws in school, right? The who, what, when, where, why.
Yeah.
And when it's time for you to start, getting ready if you want to play a sport in college, or really this can apply to anywhere in your life, you really need to say, like I said, I didn't really know what I wanted in high school. I liked the fact that I was getting attention, that I committed to a big school. I thought that I loved field hockey. Turns out that when I discovered I didn't really love it. But if I had sat down and asked myself, who am I doing this for? Really
Mm,
sat down. So you ask yourself who? Who am I doing this for? What? What's the purpose of this? Like what's the purpose of this in my life? Right? You want to navigate that. Who, what, when? You asked me this question before, but like, when do I feel most alive in this
mm,
sport? When were the moments that I felt connected to it? Because I want to relive that moment and I want to know, okay, what was I feeling in that moment? Was it the sport? Was it the team? Was it just being an athlete? Was it the training? Was it you're really finding clarity? Who, what, when, where, right? Where do I see myself going with this? It's really important to ask yourself, do I want to be a college athlete? Another route is if you don't want to play your sport, right? Like maybe I didn't want to play field hockey, but you still want to be involved in sports. You mentioned this before, Jeff. You can get involved with working in sports.
yeah.
You can totally be involved. You can be a team manager. You can be in digital media and marketing. You can
All
be a
kinds of stuff.
broadcaster. There's so
Yeah.
many different things. Who, what, when, where, and why? Why? That's just the question. Why am I doing this? And you really need to ask yourself these who, what, when, where, why questions so that you're getting this clarity about who you are as a person. Taking it
That's
out of
huge.
the perspective of what does this person think of me? You take your notebook in by yourself in your room. Nobody ever has to see it, but be brutally honest with yourself. And it's going to provide a clarity for athletes on where they want to take their career, whether that's continuing to play the sport professionally, whether that's playing in college, then maybe I want to do something different after, or you want to stop after high school and you want to be involved, but in a different capacity. And every single one of those options is okay. There is
Yeah.
no one way that it's supposed to be.
Did
So
you
that's what I've been
trademark that
saying.
yet?
I didn't, not yet. I know
Oh
I
my
have
God.
to.
That's
It's been in
awesome.
development for a few months. I know I keep thinking because I've been doing this research about identity and athletes, and
Yeah.
this was my big thing on like trying to navigate identity. And so that's going to be my next, that's when I do like keynote speaking and everything. That's what I'm really hoping to bring up to the athletes so that they can take this and use it.
That's so cool. I love it.
Thank
Love it.
you. Thank you.
Well, Devin, man, this has been great. We've been
It
going
has
now
been
for almost two
amazing.
hours,
Oh my God. Time flies when you're
right?
having fun, Jeff.
It goes quick, right?
It really
But
does.
this has been an awesome, awesome time, and I really appreciate your openness, your vulnerability, being humble. I, there's very few people are willing to come on a show like this and let the world know what's
Yeah.
going on and how they feel and what really happened. Like
Yeah.
you're here telling the truth of what really happened to you.
Hmm.
And man, that's not easy.
No, it's not, but I'm happy to do it because I hope that somebody out there who might be going through something like this can relate
Yeah.
and know that, oh, I'm not the first person to go through this. And
No,
it
we're not
doesn't
alone.
diminish my feelings, but that means that we're here and we're a little community with that.
Yeah.
That's what
We're,
this
we're
is all
just
for.
we're just not alone.
Yes,
Even
exactly.
though we feel sometimes
Hmm.
alone, you know.
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
so when's the half marathon?
Half marathon is United Airlines New York City half marathon on March 16th, 2025.
All
That's the big
right.
one. I'm absolutely pumped for it. 14-week training we've got for this one to cut off time. My marathon was 4 hours 36 minutes and I'm going for a sub 1 hour 55-minute half marathon. So, got to get to work, but I'm really excited about
Well, I'll be
it.
looking forward to those videos, watching your journey along the
Of
way, and
course.
then when you cross that finish line with that time that you want,
Oh man.
that's when it's like being back on the field.
Oh yeah, gonna be unreal. I can't wait for it.
All right, Devin, thanks for being on the show. I wish you the best of luck and love to have you back on in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jeff.